Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today and a very happy new year so far. Today we're going to be talking about the Blackhawk Foundation chest rig. Now, before we get into this very interesting piece of kit, let's go ahead and thank the sponsor of the video and the channel, and that is, of course, Gun Deals. If you don't know, Gun Deals is just a website that points you in the direction of some of the best deals within the industry. So whatever it is that you're looking for, go ahead and check them out. Once again, that is gun.deals. They usually have a link for it for the best possible price. They don't buy or sell anything. They don't take your money. They only point you in the right direction. So with that out of the way, if you want to help me out personally, you can, of course, like, share, and subscribe, as all that sort of stuff is free and it does help me out. And of course, comment something about this chest rig down below. On top of that, there's also Subscribe Star, which is basically just a pro to a Patreon. For a couple bucks a month, you get entered in some giveaways and, of course, some additional content as well. And on top of that, fairly soon, very, very soon, hopefully this week or early into next week, we should have the Mark 5s launched on the website. This is a 12.5-inch 5.56 10-inch M-LOK rail. These should be shipping complete with a BCG charging handle, everything else, for about $400 soon. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some of the specifics on the Blackhawk Foundation. Now, I purchased this completely with my own money. I have no affiliation with Blackhawk. I have used some of their products in the past. They're kind of famous for their old like Serpa style holsters and stuff like that you would see on like a lot of cops wearing and stuff like that. But this is kind of their foray into more modern gear. This is part of their Foundation series. They also have a plate carrier that is compatible with the clip-on system that we'll go through on this, and of course the chest rig and some additional add-ons. Now, my problem with this is that when I purchased it because it looked cool. I bought it the day of or the day after it came out, and I paid way too much money for it. I think at the time the chest rig itself was like 90 bucks, which this is made in overseas. I think Vietnam is where these are made, chest rigs, so it's 90 bucks, which is getting pretty close to like USA made prices. But the kicker there was that the 5.56 placard is an extra 40 bucks for just the standard cost of the chest rig itself. All you get is a flat MOLLE front panel, and you'll have to put something else on it. But what you get with the 5.56 placard is you get a Velcro base, and then you get the 5.56 placard that clips onto the Velcro and then clips into the actual chest rig itself, which means that you can simply pull it off and then put it onto their chest rig as well. Now that was 40 bucks. So the grand total of what I paid for this, not including the other stuff that I put on here, was $130 for an overseas chest rig. Now, once again, I bought it because I saw some ads for it the day it came out, and I thought that looks cool, I could probably review that. And so I picked one up to review. Since then, prices have come down on the chest rig itself. Currently, the chest rig is only like 60 bucks, but the 5.56 placard is still 40 bucks. So you're still looking at like $100 versus what I paid of $130, though I would assume that the price will continue to go down on these. Currently, I'm still going to say that it is overpriced for what it is. You can get fully kitted out American-made chest rigs that are much higher quality than this for around the $130, $150 price point. Again, what I paid for it. Now, the 5.56 insert that comes in here, because these magazines do have their own insert in here. This is not the one that came with it. The one that came with it was an absolute joke. This one here is actually the 3-mag insert from Strix Manufacturing. I used to use it on my plate carrier, and then I threw it in here. And it works infinitely better than the one that it comes with. The one that it comes with, I don't even have it because I've never used it. It was just a very simple like dividing strip, just like a very thin divider strip. It's going to catch on anything other than a aluminum GI style magazine, just because the waffling pattern and like the little the stops on like the Magpul Gen 3 mags, those will absolutely get in the way of that tiny little divider working. So what I have in here right now is an elastic and Velcro shingle from Strix Manufacturing, just a 3-magazine shingle, and it fits in here quite well, holds everything extremely nicely. So here we have the chest rig on, and this is where almost all of the problems that I have personally with the chest rig start. So the way that this is locked in together is you have 4 clips on your actual chest rig here for the shoulder straps that loop around and down, which are fairly comfortable. They are super wide, which is nice because again, they lay very flat, at least here in the front, and they will support weight, though it's a chest rig, so you're not going to be carrying like 50, 60 pounds off of it, but it is fairly comfortable. The main problem that I have with them in the back, I'm not sure as you can see, they tend to do this and stick up in the shoulder. They're not like perfectly molded to your shoulders. Maybe after using them for a really, really long period of time, because I've been using this chest rig very consistently for several months now. And the problem with that is because they kind of perk up a little bit in the back because they're not perfectly tight and cinched down to my shoulders. Again, different body types are gonna have different issues with that. Is that when I'm running a sling, like say on this guy here, the sling almost always tends to get caught up in those little areas where the chest rig, the back straps on the chest rigs are not laying down perfectly flat. Now the other problem that I have with that, because that's a fairly minor issue, has mostly to do with the type of slings that I run and the way that I run my slings. That's kind of a personal problem with it. Now the next problem that I have with this chest rig is that the straps that actually cinch it down and hold it down to your body need to be extremely tight at all times, and there's no elastic, no give in the plate carrier, or not the plate carrier, in the chest rig anywhere. And so that means if you do not have this extremely tight, when you're lifting up on your magazines, all you're going to be doing is lifting the whole chest rig up instead of, you know, just getting the magazine that you want. Now, when you have fully loaded mags, these are empty mags right now, just for display purposes. When you have fully loaded mags and it's a little bit heavier, you know, about 2-3 pounds heavier, it's going to be a little bit easier, but you can spend a lot of time fighting to get it out because it wants to lift up unless you have these cords just absolutely hammered down to your body. And that makes it very difficult. Even as it is right now, when I suck in to breathe, it gets extremely tight and extremely uncomfortable. And then, you know, you can pull up just fine on your magazines and you're not going to just lift the whole chest rig up. But that means, again, it's much more uncomfortable to breathe or move or to actually do stuff when you're wearing this chest rig. And I think chest rigs, the idea behind them anyways, is to be able to carry enough gear for a specific reason while being lighter, more comfortable than a plate carrier. The problem that I have with this chest rig is that it's just less comfortable to use just because I have to really cinch down on all of the straps, which means it's less comfortable to breathe or to move and to actually be able to get to the stuff on my chest rig without having, you know, the chest rig just flop about while I'm doing stuff. So the lack of any sort of elastic, sort of, not necessarily a cummerbund, but something like that, to give it a little bit of give while still maintaining a set level of tension on the chest rig itself, so it's not flopping about, it's still holding very, very tight to your body. That's going to be the biggest miss for me. So right here is the 556 placard by itself. Now, this is a fairly nice design, and I actually do like just this part by itself quite a bit. It does, of course, have buckles in the back, so if you are using a plate carrier with a Velcro front plus the buckles or the clip-ons that attach to these, it will be very simple just to clip and stick, and then this is going to be locked into the front of your plate carrier, so it's very modular in that way. Now, you don't need to do 556 mags. You could do a couple 308 mags, a couple 762x39 mags with a different insert on the inside, because it is just a Velcro kangaroo pouch on the inside. I'm currently using the 556 3-magazine shingle from Strix Manufacturing, but again, you can, I'm sure a wide variety of shingles would fit on the inside to secure whatever it is that you're looking for. You could probably even do like an SMG one if you were looking for something like that. Now, the only thing that I have against this for on other plate carriers would be that these side buckles you're not really going to be using if you're using a Velcro cummerbund as well. So they're just going to be either dangling or you're going to cut those guys off, which I might actually end up doing that if I end up using this 556 placard for a different plate carrier. Now, without the 556 placard on it, it does of course look quite goofy, but basically you would just stick or clip and then stick it to here so that it would not move whatsoever. It's a very, very secure fit. And then again, you do have these very nice, very wide shoulder pads that, or shoulder straps that would theoretically spread out the weight, though again, there's really not much weight that we're dealing with. They also do have cutouts for either wire routing for like comms or something like that, or if you're using this in conjunction with a backpack, so you could route like a water tube or something else like that. Obviously, as I have mine set up, I'm not really using those. Now on the back here, this is a very good idea in my opinion. I really like the design. I just think it wasn't executed quite perfectly. So this back section is kind of a hybrid between an X and an H harness. And this is where these top ones will kind of cinch around. So this should, in theory, keep it very, very tight and again, displace that weight over your back quite nicely for whatever reason. But the way that this is contoured does not perfectly fit my body, and it's probably not going to fit your body either. So this, you're always gonna have like your little areas kind of sticking up just a little bit, and these like to get very, very twisted when you're getting them on. I almost always need the help of a second person to make sure that these are actually laying perfectly flat on my back, which is kind of a downside when you think of a chest rig needs to be quick, accessible, that sort of thing. And it does lay very flat most of the time, though again, my main problem with this back section is that it constantly wants to get caught in my sling that I'm using, which is the GroveTech Sentinel. So overall, I think that there are some good ideas going on here. They're doing it at a little bit too high of a cost for being manufactured overseas, and it just almost needs like a Gen 2 update with a little bit of like elastic in these bands. Maybe make them a little bit thicker as well, so that they actually spread out a little bit of that tension, or a little bit more of your body to be a little more comfortable. Maybe a little bit different tightening method as well. We're just using very inexpensive, super cheap plastic buckles everywhere that do their job of holding on, but I have noticed also that after I tighten them down, they do tend to loosen up after a couple hours. So if I'm out shooting 200, 300, 400 rounds in a day, and I put that on in the beginning, by the time I've left by that day, I've tightened them down a couple times by then already, which can be a bad thing, or at least a little bit annoying. Now, because this back panel is just female Velcro, it means you can attach basically anything you want to it. So we'll go over the way that I have mine set up. I have a Baofeng UV5R in a Infinity Tactical wing pouch. Yes, almost all the stitching on it has started to come up. I have a couple of them that are doing that, but he's a very, very new guy doing it, so I don't mind having a few issues along the way, especially with the startup. And then on the bottom, I have just an extra general purpose pouch that has some additional medical in it, tourniquet on the other side, and then the main pouch goes down on top and then clips in. And then you have basically everything that you need, or at least everything that I'm going to put on here, for a very simple, very lightweight setup that still gives me, 100 plus rounds of total capability. And if I really wanted to, there's more stuff that I could add to this as well. Actually, I think I swapped around the wing pouches. Either way, this is basically how I've ran it 99% of the time. This is my favorite way to run it. It's enough stuff. It's not very heavy. Again, it's not a couple hundred rounds. It's a little bit over 100 rounds of ammunition, including what I have in the gun, which is more than enough for anything else that you want to pretend to be doing on the flat range. Now, to be very clear, chest rigs really aren't my favorite thing. They do have their place. For instance, they are obviously much lighter, much easier to conceal. So if you're somewhere where you can't necessarily fit an entire plate carrier into a bag, you can probably fit a chest rig with just the essentials on it in a bag or a car or something else like that, just to have a little bit of extra gear on you if you want to be more prepared. However, for me personally, I almost always find them more inconvenient than they are convenient, just because they tend to be more difficult to get on and off. They tend to be less comfortable if you have to really, really tighten them down versus having like an elastic cummerband that breathes and flexes with you as you do, which is much more comfortable, and it helps to keep it tighter to the body without having some of the problems that something like this would. But outside of a few scenarios, I would almost always rather have a plate carrier than a chest rig, though again, if you happen to be one of those people that falls into a chest rig sort of use case scenario, by all means. Now, the problem that I have with this chest rig, as I mentioned before, is even as you see it right now, it's about $100 for just the base chest rig and the 5.56 placard. or the 556 placard, though you're going to need to get a different shingle insert. And in this case, I have 2 wings, which are 15 bucks each, and then a dump pouch, which is also made in the USA, just a general purpose pouch. I forget who makes that one. So total cost of this one here right now with just the pouches, not anything that's in the pouches, it's about 175, 180 bucks. And again, for that money, you can buy a lot of really nice USA made chest rigs that are going to come fully equipped and be a lot higher quality, a lot more comfortable, have some nicer features in them than the Blackhawk Foundation. So as far as a foundation goes for a chest rig or for a plate carrier, I think it's pretty poor. So for the most part, I would absolutely recommend not buying this unless you just happen to find like a killer deal on one for maybe like 60 or 70 bucks for the complete package with the 556 placard. But other than that, for the same money, I would definitely look into some other cooler USA made products that, again, for the same price are going to offer better comfort, better flexibility, better, everything again for about the same money. So not a big fan of the Blackhawk Foundation chest rig with their 556 placard. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just not as good as I would like it to be, especially for the money, and it does fall short in some areas for me personally. But that's about it for the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think of chest rigs in general in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace off.